tell us Sartesh is 10-year old, sometimes he's 30-year-old, sometimes he's 50-year-old. He remembers those incidences, those all the time complaining that there are ants in her head and lice in her fur. Very
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I, Dr. Janani Muthu, Associate Professor, Department of Periodontology, Indira Gandhi Institute of Dental Sciences, Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth, take immense pleasure in welcoming you all to SBV Connect, an official webinar session hosted from the desk of Vice Chancellor, Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth, Pondicherry. The scientific frontiers of medicine are constantly evolving. In health professional schools like medical, dental, nursing, pharmacy, etc., the basic training is merely the entry point. Individuals who choose this path make a commitment to lifelong learning. Information communicated in academic periodicals are a major means by which professionals in this field keep abreast with current evidence and developments that will ensure the best possible care for the patients. In a survey done by University of Illinois, healthcare faculty were more frequent readers of academic periodicals, and 77.9% use their personal subscriptions for access. It was also found that the average time spent in reading periodicals by healthcare academicians was found to be 5 hours per week. Also, another survey in 2003 found that there is a decline in academic magazine subscriptions from the year 2000. Despite this, the past decade has witnessed an upsurge in number of academic periodical startups with equal increase in predatory journals, which is posing a threat and compromising the quality of evidence available. This is also partly due to publish or perish situation prevailing in the health academy. The decade has also witnessed a steep increase in price of subscriptions and publication charges that have led to alternatives in access. Is this current trend, is there a change in relevance and role of periodicals in healthcare academia? In lieu with this, the topic of this 17th edition of SBV Connect is periodicals, the revered language of academia. We are extremely honored and privileged to have 4 esteemed speakers with us. Professor Subhash Chandra Parija, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth, Pondicherry. Professor P.P. Mathur, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Birla Global University, Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Professor N.R. Biswas, Director and Honorable Vice Chancellor, Indira Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences, Patna, Bihar. And Professor Ashok Kumar Mahapatra, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Siksha O. Anusandhan University, Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Warm welcome to all, and we're extremely happy and excited to have you all amidst us today. Thank you, respected speakers, for accepting our invite amidst your busy schedule. Let's start the program. The first session is by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Subhash Chandra Parija, sir. Professor Subhash Chandra Parija, sir, a man who needs no introduction to us SBVians, but for that, sir is an eminent academician, erudite microbiologist, avid researcher, keen votary of medical education, and an able administrator. He is the former director of JIPMER Pondicherry. He has authored 16 books and more than 400 research papers in various national and international journals. He is an FAO WHO expert member on foodborne parasitic diseases. Sir has received Dr. B.C. Roy National Award by MCI in the year 2003 for his contributions in the development of medical microbiology. Sir is the founder of Indian Academy of Tropical Parasitology. He has conferred with various fellowships that include FAMS, FICA, FABM, FIMSA, etc. And sir also holds 2 patents to his credit. With that, over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Am I audible to all? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Good afternoon. Esteemed my good friends, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor P.P. Mathur, Vice Chancellor of Birla Global University Bhubaneswar, Professor R.N. Biswas, Director and Vice Chancellor of Indira Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences, Patna, Bihar, esteemed Professor Ashok Kumar Mahapatra, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Shiksha o Anusandhan University, Bhubaneswar, Odisha, and dear moderator of this program, Professor Janani Muthu, from the Department of Periodontology, Indira Gandhi Institute of Dental Science, our constituent college of Sri Balaji Vidyapith, all esteemed faculties of Sri Balaji Vidyapith, and esteemed participants of this webinar on periodicals, the revered language of academia. At the outset, on my behalf and behalf of entire family of Sri Balaji Vidyapith, popularly referred to as SBV, I extend a hearty welcome to all our experts who are participating in this program. I take this opportunity in expressing my sincere thanks to all eminent experts, Professor Mathur, Professor Mahapatra, and Professor Biswas, to give some time out of their busy schedule and to share their experience and expertise on this topic of relevance, the periodicals, the revered language of academia. I'll be sharing today on a relevance of periodicals in health sciences universities, and my other members of this team will be discussing on various aspects. My main objectives and the plan of the talk is to briefly give an overall presentation of this topic of interest, and while I do that, I'll first define the term periodicals, how we use in an academic scenario such as in the university. And I'll try to analyze different types of periodicals, and most important, to emphasize the role of these periodicals in health science university background. And I'll conclude my presentations with summarizing few of the advantages of having periodicals. All of us in this university or in a medical college, any discipline of science, either health, dentistry, or nursing, faculties in particular, and our postgraduate students, PhD students, every one of us, many stakeholders are very much aware and familiar with these periodicals. It means when we refer the term to periodicals, it refers to publications with a distinctive title. For example, if we have got a periodical, for example, tropical parasitology, it means it's a periodical in parasitic disease. And this periodical usually consists of a collection of articles issued with a consecutive numbers. And when we think of periodicals, it's a very broad term. It includes journals, scientific journals, research journals, or even some magazines, transactions, proceedings, newspaper, and so on. All these are in the ambit of the word periodicals. Sometimes, even frequently, these periodicals are referred to as serials. But definitely, all these things, either journals or magazines or transactions or proceedings, have something in common. That is, each part properly contains matter on a variety of topics, generally by several contributors. Periodical contain articles or short stories or other writings by several contributors which appears at fixed or regular intervals without prior decision as to when the last issues are appeared. This is a continuing process. And definitely, these periods are primarily intended for learned or professional readers in any academic institute or university. Now, as I have mentioned earlier, periodicals generally are considered to include newspapers, which usually have large, in-fastened pages and contents with considerable impedancy. It also includes magazines or journals which have smaller pages, are usually bound and often more specialized, but less time-dependent contents. Now the question can be asked, why we should use periodicals in day-to-day activities? As all of us know, periodicals are the second most current published information after the internet. And the most important component of these periodicals are that they are edited and vetted. They reflect, they are most contemporary. They reflect the opinion of their times, of the present times. Articles are written about events at the time those events happen. As most of us be knowing, in this pandemic of COVID-19, you choose any periodicals, research journal, newspaper, serials, any other things. What was most discussed was COVID-19 pandemic. And in contrast to this, periodicals, when we compare with the traditional books, books are usually written after the events has passed, most likely. When things have ended, culminated, some experience are usually documented in the book. And in contrast to books, these periodicals are usually throwback, evolving informations and points of view, and source of only information, where books publishers are not interested for local issues. Nobody is interested because they failure to reach the wide audience. In this context, in this scenario of changing scenario in 21st century, when we analyze the features of periodicals, it includes original reports on research or experimentation, often in specific academic disciplines. As all of us know, in research journals, scientific journals, all disciplines of medical science to give, there are thousands of periodicals focusing to broad discipline or general discipline or sub-discipline. And usually, the targeted audience for these periodicals, research journals, are scholarly researchers, and obviously, most importantly, faculties and students. And the articles in these periodicals, particularly research journals, are written by experts in the field and are the signed documents. I mean, they owe the responsibilities of the statement that is expressed in the periodicals. Articles often use specialized jargon of the discipline and assume a familiarity with the subjects. If we are talking with infectious disease, the title of the journal will be Journal of Infectious Disease or Infectious Disease Today or Research in Infectious Disease and so on. Most scholarly journal subject articles are to the peer review process prior to the publications. Most of the articles when we send to research articles are peer reviewed. And of course, it is mostly content to a strong, supported with few illustrations and typically in the form of charts, graphs, and maps to explain the content in a better way to the audience. And obviously, these research journals and scientific journals, unlike newspapers, do not contain any advertisements because any advertisement included would be unobtrusive. We can classify periodicals into two most important types. One is popular, one is scholarly. And all of us are very much aware of the popular periodicals like journal magazines, newspaper, example, newsletter of the university, newsletter of the department, newsletter of the colleges, and all these popular periodicals are designed to appeal to a broad population, aimed at reading the level of an average person, and usually written by staff writers of the periodicals. Less component is by the invited articles. And mostly these periodicals, popular periodicals, focus on the current events most of the times. For example, we do have SBV Chronicle, which is a popular journal of our Sri Balaji Vidyapith SBV. It really is a compilation written by the staff of the Chronicles, and they contain most of these current events that speaks a lot of our activities. For example, Chronicle, which is published once in 3 months during those times. Whereas, unlike the periodicals, scholarly journals aimed at limited professional readership. I'll give an example. Since I'm a medical microbiology professor with a specific of interest in parasitic disease, I'll be giving some example of the parasitic disease journals. For example, Tropical Parasitology, published by Indian Academy of Tropical Parasitology. So this journal has a limited professional readership only to the parasitology of interest, who have their interest in study applications and diagnosis of parasitic disease of public health importance to India. Like that, hundreds of examples can be given with a specific professional readership focused. And all these articles in the scholarly journals are as a result of the research works, are written by experts in the field who have contributed immensely in that period of specific or subspecific interest. And these scholarly journals are mostly technical vocabulary aimed at people who are already educated and experienced in that field. It's not for the general. And articles are usually the results of the research in the field. Suppose you are submitting a journal to this parasite journal, obviously it will be submitted by scientists, PhD scholars, or faculties or postgraduate students who have done some work pertaining to parasitic disease, and the research are being published in the scholarly journals. and it contains extensive bibliographies to support to the publications that support and the content of the publication that support the statement that has been included in the paper. And hence, this scholarly journals, usually in academic circle, is accepted as journal. When you use the word journal, it means a scientific research journal in an academic scenario. For example, in our university, we have got 3 to 4 journals. SBV, Journal of Basic Clinical and Applied Sciences. We have got Pondicherry Journal of Nursing. We have got Journal of Dentistry and also SBV. All are scholarly journals of repute which are being published online. Now, when we talk of types of in-house periodicals of organizations, it can be broken of 2 types, internal and external. External house periodicals is made for external public shareholders, whereas when we think of internal house periodical, they serve as an important platform for faculty and student. A health science institute like ours ideally should have both the periodicals, and most of these universities and colleges, they stream now. They not only are focusing their in-house journals, but also publishing some scholarly journals for the wider audience. And when we think of these journals, we have 2 types of journals, open versus closed periodicals. The house journal reflects whether the organization is an open or closed one. Closed type means in a closed organization, there will be a one-way channel of communications. It does not take into account the view of the employees. Whereas open type of journal, it best suits health science periodicals. Employees get all opportunity to put forth their ideas and findings, and the journal becomes a two-way communication in an open journals. In this context, having discussed about the periodicals, define the word use of journals and open or closed type, let's analyze what is the role of periodicals in health sciences university. They have got many important roles. First and foremost is this gives one platform to publish research of own faculty and students in house journals, and it helps in creation of a niche for healthcare organization. By periodicals by healthcare organization are often smaller, so they can focus more on specific areas or local problems or even specific audiences. That is the great advantage of in a university science health periodicals. And through periodicals, attempt is made to showcase the research publications, research program, hence way to build the reputation while furthering the growth, particularly the research and academic activities. And these periodicals also do help building a brand for the health institution by highlighting their own research, providing a medium for researchers to publish their studies, as well as students, faculties, and other allies who are interested in this research. And the most important advantage, this type of journals published by a university or college, is that is of local relevance. It has a focus on publishing on local clinical problems, peer communications, and fostering critical reading among healthcare workers in those lines. It also helps to engage the students' interest and participations, provide a forum for medical communities to share thoughts, and it helps as a source of encouragement, like announcement of events, achievement of faculty and students, sharing milestones of institute with faculty and students, means of recognition of the achievement. In essence, the scope of periodicals in health sciences university are many. It focuses on research as well as patient care, also on health education, social and environmental responsibilities, and student welfare. As all of us know, periodicals have many advantages because there are many. Just to give few examples, since they are published frequently, Periodicals are the best source of current information, unlike books. Current events are usually discussed in periodicals long before they become the subject of a book. And periodicals often contain information on the latest trends, product research, and theories. And they are the best source of ephemeral or very specialized information, focused informations. And these periodicals exist for every field and every interest in health sciences, any subjects of science you can refer to. It provides an access to a variety of hard to find informations. And due to the shorter length of periodical articles, more topics are covered within one volume of periodicals than in one book. To give on this, when we are working on this, along these directions, we are happy to share that in SBV, we have got in-house journals as well as newsletters like the Chronicles, magazines, SBV C, which helps as a lighter reading among the faculties, which depicts the different activities, events going on in our universities by the faculties and students, whereas in scientific journals, we have now, in association with JP Publishing House, are publishing 4 journals: SBV Journal of Basic Clinical and Applied Health Sciences of 6 years old, Journal of Scientific Dentistry, Annals of SBV, and Pondicherry Journal of Nursing. Incidentally, Pondicherry Journal of Nursing is one of the 10-year-old and plus old, and all these journals now are gaining immense popularities and share in the scientific academic visibilities by all these 4 universities, and annual reports, of course, like any other universities. This SBV Journal of Basic Clinical and Applied Health Sciences is an international open access peer-reviewed interdisciplinary journal published quarterly. Journal of Scientific Dentistry, again open access peer-reviewed journal of dentistry published biannually. Annals of SBV is an international peer-reviewed open access, and the most important feature of this Annals of SBV, it only accepts thematic review journal published biannually, and published Pondicherry Journal of Nursing is a national journal for the entire nursing fraternity, published on a quarter fraternity. In essence, periodicals continue to be important component of any university or of any institute, of any college, of academic or research importance. One of the primary sources of these periodicals have original informations, and this constitute as an important element of library collection, especially in academic, commercial, industrial, and research libraries. And definitely, it is a highly primary media for recording and communicating informations. And we strongly feel that it has a strong future, only their direction continues to change. Thank you very much for your patience hearing.
Thank you, sir, for giving quite an insightful introduction for the sessions to follow. Dear participants, kindly reserve your questions, for the panel will be open to take the questions at the end of the program. Thank you. Moving to the second session, Distinguishing Periodicals, the Difference Between Scientific Magazines and Journals by Professor P.P. Mathur, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Birla Global University, Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Sir received his education from the Pioneer Institute, Banaras Hindu University. He has guided several PhD, MPhil, and MSc dissertations. He has about 43 years of research and 38 years of teaching experience. Sir has published over 185 scientific papers and reviews in high impact factor journals and books. He has served as the Vice Chancellor, KIT University, Bhubaneswar. He is the founder head, Center of Excellence in Bioinformatics at Pondicherry University. Sir was the Professor and Head Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology and Dean School of Life Sciences, Pondicherry University. He is a Fellow of National Academy of Medical Sciences, India. Sir is member of the Court of the Central University of Karnataka and has served as member of Court Executive Council and Academic Council of Pondicherry University. Sir is also the recipient of many prestigious awards like Ashutosh Mukherjee Memorial Award, ISCA, Young Scientists Award, ISCA, and Lifetime Achievement Award conferred by ISSRF. Sir has been the chairman, member, and member of more than 60 institutes. I request you, sir, to take over.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Janani Muthu. Good afternoon to you all. Very respected, my colleague Professor Subhash Parija, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Balaji Vidyapeeth, Professor Biswas, Vice Chancellor of Indira Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences, Patna, and Professor Ashok Mahapatra, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Shiksha and Sandhan in Bhubaneswar. Actually, it is very nice that I am being put with very enlightened panelists along with me. I feel really humiliated that humbled that I have been lined up with that. I'm extremely thankful to Balaji Vidyapeeth that this particular topic they have selected. I was having an idea that the periodicals and these things are extremely important for any person, those who are doctors or scientists or practitioners or even any subject persons. And now I think during this time, probably this 1.5 years of pandemic time, all the journals became so important, and not only journals, the periodicals became also very important. Newspapers became important, though online or whatever it is, so that people, and this 1 year, 1.5 year, maximum science news coverage was on pandemic or associated area, that is a health science or health issues, and everybody was enjoying reading that thing. So I think there were, as Professor Parija has illuminated, so I will not touch upon those ideas, but certainly the newspapers and science magazines are in plenty, and there are so many science magazines which are coming, are basically getting published, and some of them, they are the magazines which are published and peer reviewed, but there are so many magazines which are not peer reviewed, but they also have the reason to be printed, and a lot of people, they read those things also. I would just share the screen. I have chosen a top. Oh, sorry. I have not opened the presentation. I'm sorry. Just a minute. I'm sorry, I have not opened the presentation as yet, but yeah, just hold on. Yeah. Yeah. So I was just sharing my screen. Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Is it okay? Then fine. So I'll just share the presentation. So I just thought that the topic which is done, the distinguishing periodicals. So I've just told about the distinguishing scholarly publications from the others, and there I have focused on the research journals basically. So there are several publishing models for the scholarly journals. The one which we know very traditionally is called as traditional model of scholarly journals or publications. And this is a subscription model, as it happens that the libraries or the persons, they subscribe it. You get every week or every month or every year or every 6 months on your table, and you read it. And of course, it could be made available to the people online also. The online version also might come. But you have to pay the subscription. Somebody has to pay the subscription of a library. Then the other one which comes is the platinum open access, which is actually free to author and free to reader. So nobody pays. And there are so many journals which are open access and are available free to author. And this is the very interesting thing. And if you go to Medline, the PubMed, and there's a PubMed Central. There are a huge number of such journals which are both free to author and free to reader. There are certain journals which are delayed open access journals, which are basically subscription model journals, but they, understanding the need of scientists, they make it open after, say, 6 months or 3 months or whatever time they have decided. But the very interesting of the journals which have come up in recently are called as gold open access. That means free to reader, but author pays a fees. And these journals are also important, and they have become important after NIH made it mandatory that all the research is funded by NIH would be made available free to readers. And the reason is straightforward, because most of the scientific research, whether in this country or elsewhere, is done by the scientists through public funds. And there is no reason why public should pay twice, first to support the research and subsequently to know the results of the research, whatever happened. So it became mandatory a couple of decades ago that every funded project of NIH has to be made access free. And thereby some of the journals, those who were traditional journals, or they were free to author, also platinum open access journals, they also gave a choice to the authors to see that whether they can make the journal, the particular articles free to the readers also. So the journals which were charging money also, they started giving free to reader, but in this case the author has to pay the money. In this actually gave rise to a large number of predatory journals and a lot of publishers, because once they got an avenue of charging to authors, they started exploiting this gold open access model for their own profit. And they take advantage of or basically exploit the scholarly authors, and they pretend to be legitimate ones, and they even establish the websites or the nomenclature similar to the scholarly known journals, but they are having fake or poor peer review process. And sometimes they come from so-called institutes, associations, or centers, and some of them, they operate mega journals, including the journals of every discipline. They bring it out in hundreds or even thousands of the journals coming out from the same group, and they are exploiting the authors with a fees, and they don't bother about the quality of research which they are showing there. And most of us are receiving every day this kind of emails, and these are basically spam emails. And these journals typically are, if suppose any one of you receive, and I'm sure all of you may be receiving such things, they are basically the predatory journals. So these are the kind of predatory journals, the emails they send it, and they have mistakes. They have so many characteristics of these emails also. So please be careful. And the journals, they look like this, which I've taken some some of these examples, and they show all fake impact factor, many of the fake things, and they have very poor mechanism of peer review, and rather no peer review, and they have also a problem with the editorial board, and if you look at that. So many, but unfortunately what happened, many people, and the people did not realize for a long time that these are very bogus journals, and they are not they're serving the scientific community that way. So many of the people, they earned across the world, I'm not talking about this country alone, but earn tenures and promotions through the articles they publish. And these articles were academically not evaluated, and sometimes the merit is not there. And basically these journals bother about their money only. And never before so much of pseudoscience came in the press and it is being shown as a real science. Many times we see the news items that this kind of treatment is possible or this drug has come up, but later on we never hear about it. Or eating or drinking wine is better for health, or eating this thing is better for health. These things have not been validated and they have no reason to be coming out in the press, but they come out because some interest group like this, they get cheap and easy on the fast publication, and they do it, and later on they get retracted, or later on the newspapers also correct their mistake. So they have increased the research misconduct, including pleasures, because many of the authors of publishing in these journals, they simply also, because they know that for their promotions or for something, they have to be very much sensitive to the needs of publication, and thereby they sometimes get plagiarized material, or they get some of the material which may not be very true. And this has created a separate science, a pseudoscience, and the nature of research is very questionable. And they feed bogus research to societal institutions, and they need authentic science. So many times the news article comes about certain things, and they basically collected the information from the journals, and the journalists who may not know the difference between the fake journals or the predatory journals, or and the journals which they should be depending on us for the outsourcing the news, including best of the periodicals like the New York Times. They have also cited certain things, and later on they retracted it. So even as prestigious newspaper as the New York Times, they also outsourced from Mediterranean Journal of Social Sciences, something, the journal published by Mediterranean Center for Social Science, which made the list of potential, possible, and probably predatory score open access publishers. So a lot of things they really have to withdraw, which they had published. So that was for plagiarism. And basically these journals are not only doing no service to the society, but they are doing adverse or rather harm to the society, because they are polluting taxonomy, they are bogus, they are conducting bogus scholarly conferences somewhere here and there, and pharmaceutical enterprises are sometimes using predatory publishers to make invented compounds appear efficacious. Many times, I don't want to say, but many of the Ayurvedic claimants, they have told to the people that we have published in scientific journals. And if you see the list of the journals, many of them, they are, or rather most of them, they are in the predatory journals. And authors' fees may prevent some authors for being able to publish their work, especially in the middle-income countries. And that really is a problem that anyway, I don't want to show this thing because it's not very clear slide, but this shows that many of these journals, they are the papers rejected. Actually, a quality of a journal is determined by the rejections it does, and if the journal accepts whatever it comes to them, and the rejection level is very less, that means the journal doesn't have much credibility. So best of the journals, they have high rejection rate, and so this only shows different rings and how many they fall in the list of the predatory journals and the open access journals, and you will see that they will quite match the bogus journals and the superficial peer review mechanism existing in them. Actually, authors' fees are very important for the publication now. As I mentioned to you, that open access journals, they are charging authors to pay for the publications, many of them, and the publish or perish kind of system is really feeding to some many of the journals which are of dubious distinction. And and they show the impact factors also, that we have impact factor. And many of the students, the people, those who I interview, sometimes they refer to the fake impact factors which the authors claim. And sometimes this actually the impact factor which is told is basically a kind of trademark, or the kind of patented item of a scholarly place, that ISI, that is Institute of Scientific Information, and which publish the journal citation reports and the Web of Science, or those things. So it is basically a proprietary item of that. And the way they calculate it is the average number of times the articles from the journals published in the last 2 years have been cited. So this is the kind of quality parameter also, that the journal which you are publishing in has to be read and to be cited. And who cites? The people, those who are working in those areas, they cite those journals. And sometimes people, I don't know how those journals, they will give very high impact factors. Those who are predatory journals, they will hardly get cited. And if you look at them, you will not know where they are cited, because their entries will not be in the science citation reports or any of the citation indexes. Many of them may not be existing also. And so Web of Science or Social Indexes, they covers almost 1,700 journals over different disciplines, and each journal citation reports are there. So now at this time, we are in 2021. Recently, a little over 1 month ago, we have got the 2020 citation reports, and thereby we have the impact factor of the journals. So every year the impact factor changes. It is basically not telling about the article which one has published in the journal. It is the overall scenario of the journal. So that means 2020 citation, the 2020 impact factor, now that is the latest impact factor available for all the journals. 2020 impact factor basically averages the total citations of 2018 and 19, and they will see how many times the journal has been cited, or journal articles have been cited, divided by number of citable articles. So some of the articles are not citable, like editorials or something, or they are not getting cited. So their total citable, or the news items are not citable. So the citable things. So the journal. So if you have the higher the impact factor, that means how higher times in the past 2 years it is getting cited, and thereby it means that it is a little better quality journal. It does not tell the quality of the article which is getting published there. But the kind of journals which are publishing, they are giving all kinds of fake impact factors, and they are like they write it universal impact factor, or international scientific indexing, global impact factor, or so on, science impact factor, or they give International Scientific Institute. This is also a bogus organization because it looks like ISI, but that is not the one. So science impact factor, SIF. So they come out of their own citations, and then they try to mislead the authors as well as the readers that the journal is good. And you would see that high numbers, they give 4 or 5, which is very difficult even for very standard and very well read, particularly read journals in the particular areas. Now the new journals which are coming up, which one has to be very careful, are hijack journals. And what is happening actually, the journal which is quite popular, or the people, they read it. Suppose one of the Indian journals which was hijacked a few years ago is Current Science. Current Science is read and across the disciplines because it publishes articles on all the subject areas. It is basically like nature or science. So it is publishing in every area. So it was much simpler, much easier for them to hijack, as well as not only hijack, because there are large number of clientele they can catch of every subject. And most of the people, what they do, they once they go to see the how the paper have to be submitted, just go to current science. And what they do, they prepare one website looking like current science, and many times through Google you will reach there, and it will look exactly like current science, and they will ask you to submit the way and the email address. Now most of the good journals, they don't ask to submit on email, and they will ask you to pay money. And after some time, they obviously your article will be nowhere because it was never published in current science. And after some time, you would see that the website would be off and you will be left high and dry even after paying the money. So there is a lot of stigma of the predatory publishing in predatory journal. Because I'm not telling you the history of that, how the predatory journal has been told and how it came into existence, but just to give you a brief, there was a librarian, or rather deputy librarian in Colorado State University in US, and he saw a certain pattern of these things and he started studying that, and he basically classified and prepared a list of the journals which fall under predatory way, and he gave the name as predatory. His name was Geoffrey Bell. And of course, I don't want to tell you the more history about that, but these predatory journals, he prepared a list, and that was called as Bell's list of predatory journals. But for mysterious reasons, that website is down now. And of course, the old website, somewhere cache versions are there, so one can look at that. And many they even not only fake themselves, they even sometimes use the very big scientists or big researchers' name in their editorial boards, and those people themselves would not know that they are put in their editorial board, so that some people might get confused that it may be a good journal because such and such big scientist is involved in that journal, and they will not even take a consent from that person. And the articles published in legitimate journals maybe they may be seen very questionable articles. A single predatory or low quality journal can damage the reputation of a person, and basically one has to be extremely careful whether you publish or you don't publish, but please don't publish in any predatory journals, because that might give a stigma to you that you have published in these things, and you cannot say that I did not know, because ignorance of anything is not really the reason to get away with that. Anyway, unfortunately, this picture is also very bad, but this I have taken from Science, I think Science. And I don't want to tell a big story short. There was the Science editorial board. No, it was Nature. I think it was Nature. Downstairs, TB. No, this is Science back. So Science, they did this job, and they really wanted to see that where the money goes from all the predatory journals which comes in. Because now, and you would see that many of the predatory journals will not, they have a standard way. They don't have any postal address written there. So, and no telephone numbers written there. So it is very hard to find where they are coming from and who is beneficiary in that. And they will try to all hide every kind of the legitimate information which a person should need. And unfortunately, they found that most of the money comes to very few countries, like South Africa countries, very small, South American, some of these places in South America, but the maximum comes to India. And so unfortunately, India has become a kind of capital of all kinds of questionable or predatory journals. So extremely one has to be, China is not that big. If you look at the China, it's not that big number as far as China is concerned. So the money comes into India. They might give US address, they might give World Scientific Journal, or they might say International Scientific Journal, or whatever they give. Even some of the people, they are giving some bogus addresses of US or anywhere, or their kith and kin's address somewhere in US, showing that this is a corporate office there. But finally, it ends that the money comes to India. In fact, when I was telling that there is no mechanism for their peer review, I would tell that one of the kind of sting operation was done by one of the editorial board members of Nature, and what he did, he wrote an article which was completely bogus, including the name of the organism that was bogus, including the name of the university that was not existing, including the name of the country which does not exist on the map of the earth. And he submitted to almost like close to 300 or 400 journals which were questionable, or which he thought were questionable. And you would be surprised to know that he is very well documented, and he has all the correspondence with all the editors listed in the supplementary information which is available online. And all the communication, he found out that more than 100 or 150 journals, they simply accepted the article without questioning anything, and they said, pay the money here. Then he used to write to them that I have discovered some kind of inconsistency or mistake in my article, so I withdraw. So, but some of the editors did not like him to withdraw also, and they said you still have to pay this much of money to if you want to withdraw the article. So this is the kind of scenario, and so these are well documented, and it came on in the international press, and so this was kind of scenario. So basically, one has to be very careful to find out reputed publishers. Check the publisher provides full verifiable contact information, including address, on the journal site. Be cautious, these provide only web contact details. So that is not acceptable. Check that a journal's editorial board list recognized experts with affiliations, contact some of them, and ask about their experience with the journal. Because many times, even the editorial board members, I was put in one of the journals, I remember, it took me almost a year's time to get my name removed from that journal after several correspondences. Check that journal prominently displays its policy and author fees at their website only, and be wary of emails, invitations to submit to journals. Many times they say we are short of one article, why don't you submit it? Our journal is going to press, and we are short of this thing, and or whatever they write sometimes. Read some of the journals' published articles and assess their quality by yourself. And sometimes you ask from the past authors their experiences. Check that a journal's peer review process clearly described and try to confirm the claimed impact factor is correct. And you can go to Science Citation Index or somewhere you can find that whether it has the correct impact factor. And there is a directory of open access journals under the DOAJ. You can check those publications which are in the directory of the open access. Madam, just after 5 minutes. Okay. I have another meeting. And find out whether the journal is member of DOAJ, and use common sense. That is the most important thing. And that the same thing as we shop online, and we sometimes understand whether we are doing the correct thing or not. This publication fees, basically, no reputable academic journal automatically charges a publication fees. Some journals offer the option of paying a fees to make the article open access. They say that if you want to make an open access, then you pay the fees. And many of the journals who charge, and they are good journals, they always give you an option of reducing the charges, but they say that while submission, you should ask for the reduction of charges or the waiver of the charges. Many good journals, they waive the charges also. Journals depend on the maintaining the quality of their content. So sometimes they need money, and they are also buying content from authors, and the authors are getting the prestige of the journal. And many of these disreputable journals, they sell the mere opportunity to publish an ethical journal. Many times people think that I'm getting an article, and many times in Quora you will find people asking question, which is the cheapest journal to publish in, which is the journal which publishes fastest. I think these questions we should not ask. We should rather go for quality. And most academic publish, and if they do more harm to the reputation, if one publishes in such journals, it sticks to your rest of your lifetime, and that way. Anyway, I'm just thinking that one must submit publication with no whether you could submit with no impact factor. There are several journals, if they are less than 5 years old, they will not have impact factor, but you can still submit that if it is coming out from society or a good HOA team is bringing it out. You can still go for that. And many times conferences or conference proceedings are also publications. So you may want to find out whether they are peer reviewed or not, and what's the rejection rate in the conference, and do they publish these kinds of papers or not. The same is true with book chapters, because they are not considered as research papers, but whether they are refereed book chapters or not. If they are not refereed, better refrain from there. And can the thesis be turned into a book? This is a very important question which comes in the Quora quite often. See, then you must find out the standard, whether who is the journal, because now all kinds of journals are asking you to write a book, or you just convert your thesis into the book, and they say within 1 day, 4 day, 5 day, I don't know what they promise. They send the mails to people that we'll convert your thesis into a book, and whether it will be reviewed in a journal after it is published, that means it will be read by the scientific community or not. So this way, I just thought that I will cover this kind of thing. So I will just stop sharing. But if any questions are there, I'll be happy to answer. And thank you so much. And I thank Professor Parija for having invited me for this thing, and I'm thankful to all of you for patiently hearing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for such an enticing presentation. Moving on to the next session, current challenges, predatory, plagiarism, and fake reviewers. This session will be presented by Professor N.R. Biswas, Honorable Vice Chancellor and Director, Indira Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences, Patna, Bihar. Sir is a former Government of India advisor to BP Koirala Institute of Health Sciences and Honorary Professor of Pharmacology at BPKIS, Bihar. Sorry for the interruption. Sir has completed his MBBS from Calcutta University and MD and DM in clinical pharmacology from PGIMER, Chandigarh. He finished his DNB and DSc from Colombo University. He has stood first and received many gold medals since 1988. Sir has delivered many prestigious orations and lectures across the world. He has published more than 150 research articles in many reputed national and international journals. Sir has been instrumental in development of Indira Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences, Patna from the scratch, where it stands as a premier referral center for entire Bihar, Sikkim, Nepal, and Bhutan. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and I'm very much delighted to be here. And Dr. Parija, Dr. Mathur, and Dr. Mahapatra, all are very close to me, and we know each other. And thank you, Professor Mathur. You have covered many points which I have to. So naturally, in this type of lecture, there is certainly a chance of overlapping. So I will skip those parts which is already covered. Precisely, I will tell on what are the challenges and what are the process, how we can prevent this fraud. So already predatory publishing is dealt in detail, but I'll go on plagiarism, some fake reviewing. Sometimes the reviewers are not actual reviewer. means the author become reviewer, and that's why they publish the article. Similarly, ghost authorship. Sometimes the person who has done the works, their name is not there for some reason. It happens in academics. And people make article sitting on the table. They falsify the data. They don't do the research. They don't get the data in the bench, in the lab. And that's very, very bad thing. And sometimes good review cannot be done because the reviewer, there is anti-reviewer, good reviewer, because reviewers are so workload. So these are all problems, and now we'll tell how to overcome that challenge. So already this is already dealt that what is this periodicals. When scientific periodicals are meant for learned, ethical, knowledgeable scientific community who rely on a minimum scientific and ethical standard and value. That every word of this is very important. However, what is happening? People just to get promotion, just to get some name and fame, so they just do the wrong thing. And this young professional, particularly who are in the growing stage of their career, they want easy publication, and that makes the problem. So what are the challenges of the scientific publication? Already I have told this thing. And this shows these are the different components of the challenges for the last 60 years on when we become independent. So say this so challenges are say this reviewers workload already I told. There are fake reviewers. There are corrigendum, correction, and sometimes the articles to be retracted. But we need some whistleblowers. And plagiarism is a disease. And some people just get copy paste and get the idea or get the data and publish in the net. This is very bad. And statistical guidelines they don't follow. They don't disclosure. They don't follow the regulation, and they don't follow any publishing models like Vancouver style or any other style. They don't follow. And this already Dr. Mathur has told in detail about this open access journal and pediatric publication. This is really very bad. So let us see one by one. So this is this cartoon shows that this what is this? Lion or wolf? The wolf is getting a prey, means a type of lamb. So just getting it done by hook or crook, and this. So this already Dr. Mathur has told in detail, so I will not go about this. And how deep, that is more important. So one study, it shows that 46,000 researchers based in Italy, and they found that 5% of them published in this way. But knowingly or unknowingly, people become trapped for that. And a separate analysis also suggested that these predatory publishers collect millions of dollars, because this is a way of earning, and that is paid by this National Institute of Health. This is government, this taxpayers' money they are using.
Dr. Biswas, your slides are not moving.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Dr. Biswas,
Yeah.
no, your slides are not coming here. Dr. Mahapatra here.
What is happening? Just give me a time. Yeah. Is it coming now, Dr. Mahapatra? Is it coming? Can you see?
No, not coming. I think they given screen sharing from their side. Oh yes, your slides are stuck. Your slides are stuck, not moving.
Is it coming now?
No, not yet.
Sir, the screen is still frozen, sir. Can you please
Static.
turn on the slideshow?
Now come. It has come
sir.
now.
Now we can see, sir.
It is coming. It is
Yeah.
coming.
Okay, thank you. So recently, this director of Open Access Journals, so this NMC, they started these journals, and already there is criticism on this because people are vulnerable to predatory publishing, and this is a study in Nature, and they have shown that when you go in this elliptical way, these are the open access journals, and it is verified by this Cabell's verified way, or Cabell's predatory and this Bell's predatory. So in this way, it was found that some journals deemed legitimate by this open access journal, and just show this one. Okay, so this high rate of acceptance of papers submitted to open access journal has brought into question the role of peer review, because somehow they make some way of making this fraud, and then it's very difficult to distinguish this predatory journal and some under-issued journal. They are honest journal, but they don't have much money, and but they don't have any intention to deceive. But this predatory journal, already Dr. Mathur has pointed out at length that they make money out of this. But there are some ways we can protect that, and that is Cabell's list of this potential predatory journal by this website. You can see it, and Bell's list also. So there are some tools which can catch this predatory journal. And then comes this plagiarism, and this is already known that somebody takes, and there are some software now available, paid software and unpaid software, free software. By that way we can, and nowadays in all university, before sending thesis to the experts, so now it is to be done through software. So that is the representation of another author's language, thoughts, ideas, or expression as one's own original work. I'll finish in 2 minutes. Or expression as one's original work in educational context. There are differing definitions of plagiarism depending on the institution, and that considered a violation of academic integrity and a breach of journalistic ethics. Somebody's works they make and they say and they publish of their own works. That is, in colloquial term, you can call it a steal of others' property. So how to check it? I've already told there are different softwares, and paid software and the free softwares. By that software, we can know how much plagiarism is done. Then fake reviewing. You send a lot of people name who are known to you, and you tell to the editors that call them or make them reviewer, and then you influence them. This is totally wrong thing. And this peer reviewing is a pillar of the scientific process. This is very important. When you publish, when you send a journal, it should be checked by peer groups unknowingly. But it is happening in the reverse side. Fake reviewing, self-reviewing. And all major publishers, including like Elsevier, Springer, Taylor, France, everybody, they retract the papers when it is caught. And how to identify this fake reviews? There should be some mechanism. One is like red flag signs. Like author asks to exclude some reviewers. Sometimes they ask email, hotmail, email. These are all fake mails. Already Dr. Mathur has told all these things. But if the person is in an academic institution, in a known person, so there is chance of fake review. Not accepting the request of peer review. Sometimes the author tells that make them reviewer. Not to be the publisher should not take them. They should individually make the reviewer. And there are some online platforms also created and that facilitated verification of these problems. And this is also very important because I am so busy now, I don't take any article that I used to tell that I don't have time. Sorry. So they are so overworked that they cannot do the justice to any journal or to any article. So editors face the difficulty to find a sufficient number of good reviewers, and that is appropriate reviewers, and that is a problem. And in most cases, this is voluntary and usually unpaid. And very few people do the job. And senior professionals often deny this responsibility. So most appropriate reviewers are often the closest competitor, and that is another problem, or collaborator, and they know each other, the authors, the reviewers, and sometimes another bad thing is during reviewings, these reviewers steal the ideas. What is the work done? That is again very bad. And how to go? Usually send a paper to just one reviewer at first, and only if this assessment comes back positive, then send it to another reviewer for second opinion. And give some incentive to the reviewers, either let their CV can be better, or the editors can also reject something, like we take the patient in the trials, the test rejection. If the article is poor, don't send it to me. Then falsification and fabrication. This is another thing. The data made according to you. The science should be honest. And if you make the data according to your choice and fabricate it, that's very bad. Sometimes they call it sham science or systemic production of falsified research. Making up data according to your choice or manipulate the data. So this is a study, and it shows that around roughly 400 papers out of 1400 papers retracted because of this fraudulent. And some are in the gray zone, they call expression of concerns. And because this paper means alleged that there is some fishy thing here, but there was no proof. So that's why they are in the gray zone. So this is the tip of the iceberg. And in Nature, there was an article published that around 26 of the article that is in the expression of concern, this is in the gray zone, that should be retracted. And many others are still under investigation. So publisher almost never explicitly declare on retraction notice that a particular study is fraudulent because there is no proof that there is fraudulence done. So what to do? First thing is there should be strict review and editors to ask raw data. This is a very important thing. Even from our student life, our teacher used to tell that keep the raw data till it is published and at least 5 to 10 years after publication. But anytime anybody can ask it. Those who have not done the data, done the work, they don't have any raw data, and immediately they will be caught. So that is very important. And then about the image, the photo and other thing. The technical person should be fraud or real. And the inspector, is and some statistician should be hired and the data should be published. Sometimes actually who has done the work, he denied, and sometimes your friend or somebody who does not know the work just put them as a guest. So they don't have any contribution. So then what is the remedy? Follow the authorship guidelines. There is already an editor to seek declaration regarding contribution of each author. Sometimes publication bias means what to publish or not to publish. If a decision should come after the publication, if the data does not suit, but one should publish honestly, maybe negative results. Sometimes that has impact also, because negative results which are equally important should also be published if the hypothesis or research question is novel and rational. So what is the precisely what I told in this 5 to 10 minutes is there is a challenge, but we have to work on the challenge. Strict regulation and responsible execution is very important. Awareness among scientific community as well as authors. And penalizing the wrongdoers who do fraudulence, who fabricate the data, who practice plagiarism should be penalized somewhere so that people will not do it again. And who does good works, so give some prize or some credit. And utilizing more number of scientific tools and experts to catch that, and appreciating activities of whistleblowers. This is important. And peppermint slows. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for such an enticing presentation. The session drew the audience in and held their attention. There was never a dull moment. Thank you again, sir. Moving on to the fourth and final session of the day. The periodicals still have a future, but it's very different from their past, by Professor Ashok Kumar Mahapatra, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Shiksha Anushandan University, Bhubaneswar. Sir completed his MBBS in 1975 from MKJC Medical College, Berhampur, Odisha, and Masters of Surgery from AIIMS in 1979, and MCH in Neurosurgery and postdoctoral degree from AIIMS in 1982. His areas of interest include pediatric neurosurgery, head injury, and skull-based surgery, among others. He has carried out 30 research projects in the 40 years and authored nearly 900 papers, chapters, and books. He has been ex-Chief Neuroscience Center Dean Research, AIIMS, New Delhi, and former Director, AIIMS BBSR, former Director and VC, PGI, Lucknow, and former HOD, Neurosurgery, AIIMS, New Delhi. Sir has won several awards, including Gold Medal in Pharmacology and Dr. G.O.V. Desa Gold Medal for Research in Neuro-Otology. Sir has won the prestigious Dr. B.C. Rao National Award for 2007 in the category of Eminent Medical Teacher. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Respected Professor Parijay, Professor Mathur, Professor N.R. Biswas, and all the esteemed faculty, Chancellor of the Balaji Vidyapitha, and all our participants. It's indeed a great pleasure that such an important topic is being discussed for almost one day conference. And I have seen all the speakers are very, very prominent speaker, and topic is appropriately chosen. I have seen all these 4 lectures, and there will be many repetition because periodical to me was a very small part, but anyway, it is now has become so big in last 20 years or so that it has really got attention of the scientists, public, politicians, traders, shareholders, share market. Everything is nothing but periodical. And if we look at that, then it has a more relevance today than it is 30 years back. Always question be asked, what is the future of periodicals in electronic era? Do they are going to survive? The question is yes, they are not only going to survive, they have to flourish and do excel because there is too much of competition. If you look at 1 year of pandemic, there are more than 1 lakh articles published. And as we discussed just before 10 minutes back, false versus true informations. That is why WHO said infodemics of information. That means information of false epidemic of the informations. You see that one day vaccine is 96%, another day 86%, some day 67%. The public doesn't know. Then to add to the unethical practice, before it being patented, gone through the phase 3 trial, it is being publicized on the newspaper, in the print media, in social media. So there are too many things to be addressed in periodicals and science research. And so far the news articles are published. Every day we see hundreds of news articles. Despite of people thinking the printing media has very little value, many newspapers which are published about 5 years back sold in millions because they could attract the audience according to appropriate and contemporary and to the significance of the public. So the periodical journals are not only there for last several hundred years. It has not only make its imprint in the society, it has made an impact on the scientists, on the trade, in the commerce, in the politics, and every aspect of social, scientific, and religious life. There are so many religious magazines. So today, if you ask me, what are the role of periodical and significance today and for the future? Quite good. We are doing a webinar. Is there need for printed books? We found that when the electronic media came in US, people thought that books will not be read anymore. But it found that it's only impacted the print media. Electronic media only impacted the print media by 3%. In last 25 years, the electronic media could not impact or pull down the print media. So we still do have periodical as significant. This is, I'm talking about periodicals which are on print either monthly, quarterly, or annually. There are many periodicals which have been also published in journals. We all know about e-journals. If I ask Dr. Parija or Dr. Ye, we will say we have 800 e-journals. What does it mean? We have so many journals on the e-journals, e-books. So we do have now change our attitude, our temperament, and methodology for producing periodical to the need of the readers. As Professor Parija was talking, tropical gastroenterology, tropical parasitology. If we would have gone to our time, in my student there is no microbiology. It was only pathology. In my medical college, there was no microbiologist in 1970. Dr. Suhasin Chawda came in 1974 as a lecturer of pathology at Barampur Medical College. So how quickly have seen? When I was MBBS student, things are different. When I PG are different. When I MCA student, there are only few medical journals. Today we have neurotrauma, epidemiology, neuroimmunology, there is pediatric neurosurgery, there is skull-based surgery, epilepsy surgery, neurophysiology, electrophysiology, and there are 25 journals. To best of my knowledge, in my MCA days, there are 2 journals, American Journal of Neurosurgery and British Journal of Neurosurgery, nothing after neurosurgery, 3 journals. Today, there are 150 journals in neurosciences. So we know that things are improved for the better, not for the worse. So it has still a significance for the publication, for the public, for the student, for teachers, for planners, for traders, for the economy, for everything we require journal. So if we say in nutshell, is there a relevance today? Yes, it is a relevance today. It has become more competitive, as Professor Mathur and Dr. Biswas said. If you are producing false information, your नाक कट जाएगा. तो आप देखा है जो रेड इंक में था, more of the false publication from India and part of the south part of the Africa and some part of Latin America. That is what really happens when we do multinational study. When you call protocol violation, it all boils down to India and Southeast Asia. So we have to be really very critical and very watchful what to do and what not to do. Which book to follow, which journal to follow, what are the specialized articles, what is covering, it is covering depth or superficially. As Dr. Mathur said, unless many times you don't go to the depth of the publication, the integrity of the editorial board. So all these are relevant today. For example, when our paper go to American Journal of Neurosurgery, we get very upset. Asia has only 1% publication on American Neurosurgery, American Journal of Neurosurgery. Out of 15,000 articles which come to the American Journal of Neurosurgery started in 1942, only 250 articles get published. That what means about 12,000 to 13,000 articles get rejected. And most of them, 99% rejections are from North America. So we cannot say just because the papers are being rejected, that's not a good journal. Out of 15,000 articles, only 250 to 300 articles per. So it is very important to understand what is right versus what is wrong, what is true versus what is wrong, and what gives you real scientific, audited, and up-to-date knowledge. That is the purpose. And if that is the purpose of periodical, there will always research and there is always need for economic, financial, or even cultural improvement. We need up-to-date knowledge. So this is going to be wrong. This is a repetition. We all know the information given to all these magazines, periodicals, scientific information or even the newsletters. Something has relevance and something doesn't have relevance. So it is very, very important to understand whether editorial has been more important or it is review. If you look at the attitude today, people do not read original paper, original research paper, because they would like to know very quickly to see the entire scenario of a topic in a half an hour time. So if I am going for a journal club, I won't read the too many original articles. I have to go for either meta-analysis, review articles, or Cochrane review. So our type of periodical have changed. I cannot stress too much of hand in an original article. If I have to give a seminar and I have 2 hours in my hand, I cannot go to 10 original articles. I'll get confused. So it is very, very understand how you select your periodicals for your own use. Whether you want a scholarly article for your research or you want to communicate your discovery to the public, you have to choose what type of the best journal you want to go to see. All periodical is not going to give exactly information to their readers. So we have to see what is best for your purpose and what you can best contribute from your contribution to the rest of the world. So going to the periodical, it's bilaterally or mutually helping each other, both the researcher and the reader. For example, vaccine. If you do not know anything about vaccine, then go one of the review article on COVID vaccine. They will say 320 center COVID vaccine were researched. Only 8 have got temporary use permission. None have yet got FDA approval. We know this knowledge, but public do not know it. So public are confused. So asking co-vaccine or Covishield, one vaccine, 2 doses, why after 1, why after 6 months? So if I do not read up-to-date knowledge on COVID, I was giving a webinar on Delta plus virus. What are Delta plus? Why the public will be interested? No, it is much more of scientific research. Yet in the given pandemic scenario, general public want what is beta, what is gamma, what is kappa, what is lambda, what is delta, because they know if I suffer from a disease of a X virus, what should be my chance of survival. So today public is more educated, more informative, and also inquisitive to know about pandemic. So I cannot bluff them. So I have to give them exactly information. So I can write a new case report. If I look at my publication, I have described 10 new disease, new case report, first time in the world. If I would not have gone to periodical, then I will not be able to know whether this first publication or not. I have got about 10 series where I have the largest series in the world, whether it is anterior encephalocele, split cord malformation, or craniostenosis operation in India. If I don't go to periodicals, I won't know whether my series is the best in the world. I have to go to LIMCA book of record. I have to go to the maybe international like Guinness book of record. There I have to claim going through English literature, Russian literature, maybe Chinese literature. When I say something is authentic, it can be now challenged by the different software whether I am telling the truth or not. So I have to be much more cautious today than what I was 25 years back. So it has given some impetus to have a competition, publishing new case reports, large number of series to go to Guinness Book of Record, claim I have the largest publication. So it has a lot of things, but it has also legal point of view, judgment. If there is no periodical available for 100 years back, whether something is judged or published in the American Court of Law or a British Court of Law, many times in Supreme Court say we do not have similar case in India, but such type of cases is reported from the British Parliament, British Supreme Court 100 years back, because that time was a British rule. So we have to have old periodical versus new periodical, which has to be preserved and archived for future references, future knowledge. Look at Jagannath Temple, Madala Panji. Madala Panji give you what happened 700 years back. When did Ramanuja came? When was Guru Nanak came to Puri? When was the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came? When did Dasya was born? When Ramakrishna Paramahansa Vivekananda came to see Jagannath Temple. So the periodical and documentation and information has been stored for 1000 years. So it is not that we are smart. We have become more knowledgeable. scientifically viable, digitally more advanced. We have artificial intelligence. So our magazine require innovation. If you do not have innovative ideas, you do not have archiving facility, then you are not going to have so many information in your library. So our current library should have to have innovative idea, so that periodicals are either kept in digital format or in a format where huge amount of data can be published for future reference. That is also true for any library or any referral center or any archival centers, where you have to have periodical archived for maybe 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, maybe more. So it is digital technology has become a complementary to the print technology. It is not doing anything wrong. But if you look at that we are doing wrong to the digital technology and digital technology are destroying the printing media, I don't think so. So we have to go hand in hand, and there is always a hunger for knowledge. So periodical has to be complementing each other, whether it's a written, printed or digital periodicals. Why do you know that? This is an article I was reading. In 1978, if you see the consumer product in the market, there are only listed consumer product is 1500 to 1600. Now, if you see FMCG, fast growing consumer products, this is now is listed in US 7,000 products, and these products have to be marketed so that time to time they have to publish in the periodical. Whether it's a product magazine or a consumer product magazine or a popular magazine or a weekly magazine. So it doesn't matter. So many magazines which are sold in thousands in about 20 years back are now going in hundreds of thousands today. If you look at New England Journal of Medicine, what was the circulation 20 years back and today? What was the impact factor 30 years back? 17. It is now 97 something. So we thought by competing, having more journals, more competition, scientific production, our competition will show that our scientific value will go down. It's in fact, when you come out with a flying color with competition, you become more victorious. If you look at the Olympic 100 years back and Olympic today, 100 years back, there are only 3,000 Olympic people. Today, there are going 30,000. When you get a gold medal in 30,000, you feel more proud of that. So today, our Indian javelin thrower is more proud than the Milkha Singh who ran and got a medal. So it have to see what, that is how the impact factor has given us impetus to see where do I publish, what is the relevance my research to the public, what is the relevance my research to the scientist, what is my relevance to the teacher. So my publication have a relevance to teacher, my publication have relevance to student, and also to the public. So if I talk about optic nerve injury, it has relevance to public. So I have to publish a newsletter or a daily magazine, newspaper. It has to go to research journal. It is American Journal of Visual Research. If I have to give in neurosurgery, how I do the decompression of optic nerve in the ethmoid sinus. So same article, optic nerve injury, one is go to surgical journal for transethmoid, other is going to a scientific journal research in ophthalmology, one goes to the periodical in daily newspaper. So we have got focus, hyper-focused periodicals. What is hyper-focus? The articles which are maximum. Today we say pandemic is a hyper-focus in periodicals. That is, if you see the ICMR journal in last 1 year, the number of articles published in COVID, it's nobody's man. I believe that 1 lakh articles published in the world, maybe on pandemic, various aspects, books, journals, magazines, topics, many things. So now people read everything in depth. They focus the issue. They're loyal to the audience. If you don't do loyal, you saw how the journals perished because they publish false scientific data. So that is what we are telling. False scientific data is not going to thrive. Where the journal like Nature, Science, maybe Lancet, or even top scientific journals are not only stayed, they have flourished to a much higher level. Today, the New England Journal of Medicine is top journal in the world with a 90 odd citation index. The question is that the competition have them much more famous than they were supposed to be. So we have to have branding, We have to have short digital process. We have to be loyal to our audience, focus the issue in depth without having falsified our information. So these are so future of the magazine and periodicals and scientific communication is very, very bright. Because if you have read 2% John Hopkins 2% scientist list, only 1100 people of India cited out of 3 lakh scientists of the world. India has much less scientific publication than China. If I go to 2008, India had 8% of the world's scientific publication. Today, it has come down to 3%. China's scientific publication, who was 1% 2008, has gone to 15%. Why did it happen? Because they have become more scientifically oriented. They do quality research, and they have now gone across the world, spreading the message of research from Chinese literature to English literature. So when we are thinking to have a regional language come to higher education, Chinese has spread their English language from the Chinese language. So it is a dichotomy in our thinking process. So it is very, very relevant. We think optimistic. We should have branded and systemic things, and we should have magazine which is digital and also print medium. It is relevant to the digital business. Today, periodicals are published daily on business, share market. If you go to the Times of India business standard, every day that midnight business, because if you look at the volume of trading in 1991, when the first time the trade market came, it was only, India did not have even $1 billion in 1991. They have to give 350 tons of gold to take loan from British bank. Today, India has a trade worth of $300 billion, or they have a big, so we have got the scope in trade, in commerce, in science, in technology, and in research at large. So digital magazine, ResearchGate, open access journal, we have too much content development. Our NEP talk about content development, quality education that cannot come with a traditional teaching for 50 years. What is our teachers are doing? They make a set of slide and keep on showing for 20 years the same slide. No, today the attitude of students should change. Our lecture should not be long. It should be short, because students come prepared, reading the things in overnight, and they say how much the teacher know about the topic. So if you think you are smart, no, this periodical is so vast, the student knows sometimes more than the teacher, because teachers are not updating their knowledge. So if you have to really a good teacher, you have to lay your hand. Yesterday I was talking to somebody, and I found at 5:30, my vaccine showed that 10 cases of Delta plus virus was yesterday or day before found from Maharashtra, COVID positive. So when I told to my public that today 31st, at 5:30, the information from Maharashtra that 10 Delta plus virus people are diagnosed, you are happy. I have given you latest information on Monday up to 5:30. My lecture was 6:30. I gave latest information 5:30. So you have to decide how much information you have to give, what type of information you have to give, what quality of information you have to give, what depth information you give, and what magazine you choose. Do you choose a digital magazine or a printing magazine, a broad-based magazine or a narrow-based magazine? If you have to go to magazine like British Medical Journal, it is a big readership. But if you have to go to skull-based surgery, it's a small readership. So a neurosurgery or sophisticated sub-branch of neurosurgery cannot have a citation index higher than a general journal, Lancet. It's publicly gone through the many people. So it is a competition between a broad-based magazine versus a narrow-based magazine of subject. Dr. Parija talked about tropical parasitology. It's such a narrow field, specialized. But when they come to know, they know you are one of the top parasitologists in the world. But if it is published in microbiology journal, a large number of people will read that article. It's a broad-based magazine. So the citation factor will be more. So when I talk about how to choose a journal, what is your audience to read? My audience is the MBBS student, MD student, MS student, MCA student, or my audience is the Skull-Based Surgeon Society of India. Then I have to plan what information I'm going to pack. It may be low impact factor, but it has a high impact value on the super specialty. So our future is very, very good. Here I am talking about Netflix. I was reading about Netflix versus airborne. How much airborne magazines? They talk about travel through air. And we thought traveling by air when in pandemic has collapsed. It's not. There are a lot of magazines are now propagating. We will give you discount when you travel during pandemic. So if I don't go to Netflix journal or Airbnb journal, I won't know which airline is giving what percent discount. Where do I take a package for? So it is a trade journal for the aviation industry, for the survival of the airline. So you have to understand my travel plan has to depend on the travel magazine. So today travel magazine has changed their attitude toward the pandemic. How you see now how the things are given in aircraft. You get a face shield, you get a PPT kit and a hand sanitizer. This has been propagated every magazine that traveling air is safe, is as safe as going for purchasing vegetable. If I do not get an information from airport authority or air travel agent that I am safe during traveling, this is where the periodical give you up-to-date knowledge. So I think we have already talked many things. So future is very, very important. And we have to have many things. Now the question is arising, what will be impact factor value 2050? Is it going to have any impact? Or we have no journal of the impact because everything say, okay, everything is not gone. So these are analytic. These are futuristic attitude, thinking ahead 20 years of now. A lot of people, those are real scientists, they don't think for today. They think for technology, software, 30 to 20 years ahead of today. If I do not plan research, because research takes 10 years, patenting may take 2-3 years. So if I take a project, I have to work for 5 to 10 years and I have to patent in 2-3 years. So today, if I have to plan some product in the market 2035, then I should try today. So that is where we have to have skill, analytical mind, and problem solving magazines and periodical. And today, these are all possible because of up-to-date knowledge in e-magazines, e-sites, e-periodical, whatever it may be. So it is really, really very good. I am very happy that things have changed so much. So what is the role of really periodical? It gives you a new opinion. It helps you assignment in the exam, strengthen your medical strength. A person who doesn't read after retirement, he become old very soon because his brain is not functioning. So if you keep on reading, maybe newspaper, maybe books, maybe novels, you remain happy. Increase your analytic ability for student and researcher. If you do not read books and periodicals, then your analytic ability goes down. It stimulates the memory and creativity. If you do not read, there is no stimulus for brain to do more knowledge. So in a knowledge seeking process, periodicals and informations and science and innovative idea keep you young, energetic, analytical, and strengthen your memory. It also stabilizes your emotions. So in a public debate, we all know what product is wrongly daily, what should not be. If you read the negative newspaper, something is murder, there's a bloodshed, something, the flood and cyclone. But when it comes, new galaxies invented, that scientific, if you look at the Hindustan Times back page, there's a scientific innovation article. No, not many people read. If you go Times of India Health Capsule, every day new articles are being published on health science. The people would like to read new movie coming up, new business coming up, but they won't read new things which may be good for their day-to-day life. So it is very important what you read. So I think there are big role of, so I personally am very optimistic, very periodical are very, very important. Whether it's doctor or no doctor, technology or no technology, even from historical perspective, metallurgical perspective, or even rare earth, unless you do excavation and even your soil studies or your weather mapping, your digital technology to have a remote sensing for the prediction of cyclone. These are all important for all of us, where this periodical published time to time helps us. So it helps in enhancement of knowledge. It also helps in doing research and increasing our knowledge, making us more creative, and also provides popular subject like movie, or India lost the match or not, if we don't read. So periodical, maybe whatever it may be, depending on your interest, it is going to help you. For the first time, we know in Lords, India could win a test match with 152 runs. It's no less a fact. And the question then remains, you can go through how many people have won match at Lord's ground for the second innings, scoring more than 250 runs. It is only happened in the 200 years of Lord's ground 5 times. So 5 countries have won the second the test match, scoring 250 match scores. So it is all what is important for to understand. Periodical are very, very important part of social, scientific, commercial, and political life. It is changing its concept, its content, its innovation, and the digital format. That is how our libraries and books have changed from e-magazine to e-books. It is only the readers decide what he is going to choose, what he is going to read, what is good for him, what is bad for him. So this is what I have to tell. Thank you very much. Have a nice time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was a very stimulating speech. Please accept our thanks for the wonderful presentation, sir. Dear participants, we are pressed to end the webinar due to time constraints. I request you to type your queries in the chat box with your name and mail IDs. The queries will be taken by the panel and we will get back to you with the presentation. As we have come to the end of presentation, on behalf of SBV, I thank all the eminent speakers and dynamic participants for making this afternoon one learning experience. I'm sure that we are much better informed than before. Once again, I offer my thanks for such a rewarding afternoon. Thank you all for being part of this wonderful session. See you all in yet another episode of SBV Connect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Parija, Dr. Biswas, and Dr. Mathur. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mahapatra and Dr. Biswas.
Very
It
nice.
was great. It was great learning experience for us.
Thank you.
You have taken up a stimulating and motivating topic.
So how are you?
I am fine, sir. I am working still with SBV. So,
Nice to see you on the video mode.
yes, sir. We really liked, the catalogs, importance of periodicals, and this was much neglected. You have nicely highlighted.
Right.
In SBV, we have taken several initiatives under Dr. Parija. Sensitizing, empowering, and training. Capacity building is very, very important.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yes. So we have started new programs of training, catch them young. That is one thing. And reviewers, we have to do research mentoring. Research mentoring
Absolutely.
it should go as a national mission, I feel.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. People like you will be very assets.
No
how to
problem.
create. You have to lead.
Thank you very much. You have spent 40 years at AIMS Delhi Library. How many? 35 years.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dr. Parija, namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to thank you immensely for participating. And Dr. Mahapatra, your topic was really very interesting. You presented in a very, from overall views, giving example of fast-moving consumer goods and the scenario, other things. So nice the way you presented. As you rightly told, that future is bright, but we have got a lot of responsibilities to play in future. So that and mentor the younger colleagues, our young faculties, to go for the good journals and do a good job of presenting your research work from out of good research work. I think if this we follow, I think definitely we can't see life without a good periodic.